This show contains spoilers and adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
Movies with Ron, movies with Ron.
Hell yeah, motherfucker.
Movies with Ron.
So I think I found the greatest movie ever.
Oh, yeah?
I've never seen it. Maybe we should do it. It's called Tiptoes from 2003.
No, that sounds familiar.
Okay, let's go through the main cast. Gary Oldman. Peter Dinklage. Kate Beckinsale. Matthew McConaughey.
Wow.
I think I've seen this.
Peter Dinklage, plays the dwarf Lannister in Game of Thrones.
Right.
Won an Emmy for it. He's so skilled, he's not even a dwarf anymore.
Right.
He's just an actor.
Yeah.
Plot synopsis. Two brothers, a dwarf named Rolf, and one of typical size named Steve.
I've seen this.
When Steve's girlfriend Carol becomes pregnant, the pair are fearful that the baby will inherit the dwarfism gene.
Yeah.
Matters are complicated still further when she finds herself falling in love with Rolf,
Oh.
the dwarf brother. Who plays what? Okay, we know Matthew McConaughey is Steve.
Yeah.
He's the one dating Kate Beckinsale. Who plays the dwarf brother? Is it Peter Dinklage or Gary Oldman?
What?
Oh, fuck, that's right.
It's Gary Oldman.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Plays Matthew McConaughey's dwarf brother. And there are shots of this movie. I haven't seen it. I don't think I want to see it. I don't want it to be ruined. Gary Oldman is sitting on the couch, but he's got fake dwarf legs, and his legs are inside the couch.
Yeah.
He is playing a dwarf man. And there are scenes where he's walking, and he's walking on his knees. And they use trick photography.
Yeah.
Gary Oldman played the main dwarf in a movie that has Peter Dinklage in it. Peter Dinklage played his friend or something. I don't know. If you got one dwarf actor, you're going to show the culture. There's other dwarves.
Yeah.
He's dating, in the movie, he's dating Patricia Arquette, and they're bikers. So I guess it's a comedy thing, showing a little man on a big motorcycle.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, this year, Gary Oldman won the Academy Award for Best Actor, and Peter Dinklage, who never got to play the main dwarf in this movie, is watching him win that award. What's he thinking?
Yeah.
He's thinking, well, at least he still got to fuck Patricia Arquette.
Welcome to episode 95 of Movies with Ron, the podcast where my older brother recaps a movie he saw from beginning to end, for me and you, because we like his versions better. It's okay if you've seen the movie. It's okay if you haven't seen it. The experience is unique, so let's get it on. I'm Chris, your MC for the time being. Beside me tonight, Nurse Candy.
Hey, everybody.
And here he is, folks.
He's the ball cracker, death on foot. You know him, you love him. He's Ron.
Ron.
Hey, Ron.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Ron.
You guys hear about Will Ferrell deleting his Facebook account?
No.
Because of that big data breach or whatever?
Yeah. Cambridge Analytical.
Yeah.
So, who cares?
John Cena kept his Facebook account. He's doing the Make-A-Wish Foundation, helping kids. He's got to stay in touch.
Yeah.
Stand-up guy.
He's also playing Duke Nukem.
I think he's perfect.
Yeah, they're finally making a movie.
Yeah.
I wrote down in my notes, John Cena is playing Duke Nukem, and then I wrote down, duck fuck him. But all his dialogue in the game is references to other movies. Hail to the king, baby.
Yeah.
What's the movie going to be?
Didn't he say that in the games?
Yeah. But you're
That's the last time you reach out.
You're using dialogue from other movies.
Yeah.
In your movie. That's what I'm trying to...
In a world where all of your best friends speak to each other in movie quotes, I think that's fine.
Yeah, I guess I am saying this on the episode that is Ready Player One.
Yeah. Nothing but nostalgia, you know?
All right, well, while we're talking about muscle men. Arnold Schwarzenegger had open heart surgery,
Oh.
and he's currently in stable condition.
He's still tweeting. I follow him. Do you?
I do.
Lots of stuff about gerrymandering. It's a horrible thing.
Did you ever see that housekeeper he had a baby with?
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever think that it would get that bad for him? Where like the little short,
Yeah.
round
You get a look at this woman.
housekeeper would arouse him.
Yeah. You're like,
That was long ago. I'm sure she was in better shape.
that was definitely an affair of the heart. And it really doesn't put Maria Shriver in a very good light at all, I think.
Yeah.
You know, shit, what kind of ice queen did she have to be, to drive him to the arms of...
He wanted some strange, and it did not get any stranger for him.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Arnold. No.
When we done, I make soup.
One of us is in deep trouble.
All right, Ready Player One.
Hell yeah.
Woo!
Dude, this was a fun-ass movie.
Based on the novel by Ernest Cline.
Fanboy number 1.
Yeah. I really wanted to read it.
Me
I
too.
did too. I actually almost gave it to everybody for Christmas.
Oh,
Yeah. The library never had it, though, so I never read it.
At the library.
When was the last time you were in a library?
a long time.
Yeah, they still exist. That's where I get my books.
And your dates.
Yeah, I like them quiet.
What was that movie that you were in the library and some kid wanted to rent a movie? And his sister was like, "We're not watching that again."
Ben-Hur.
Ben-Hur.
Oh my God.
That was in Germany.
I still can't believe that. Put it back.
I'm like Jurassic Park excited for this movie.
Oh, yeah, man. This was good.
Directed by Steven Spielberg.
The former Mr. Capshaw.
Really? They got divorced?
Didn't they?
I think so.
Yeah, because when they got married, didn't they write their prenup on a napkin? And he tried to enforce it in court?
Oh, no.
And the judge was like, "Nah, man, it don't work like that."
Whoa.
Yeah, you might want to look
You guys
that up.
hold the fuck on. Dude, they're still married. They got 5 kids.
Whoops.
Well, look up his last wife.
All right, the thing about this movie, though, is, it's a big movie. It's just made by one studio, but it's got all these character references.
Yeah, all these licensed characters are in this movie.
Yeah. And I guess they spent a lot of money, but the talk of the town is all the studios united for Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
Like he gets respect from everyone.
Uh-huh. Like only he could have gotten this done.
Yeah. He called it his most difficult film since Saving Private Ryan.
I heard that.
And I think it's because, like, the whole cultural references thing,
Yeah.
everything the fanboys are going to love, like, he is oblivious to that.
I agree.
I don't think he knows who the Battletoads are or any one of those characters. Who's Chucky, He had a team of, like, 30-something guys.
Yeah. Chucky, the doll? It's a doll.
I'm excited about the Iron Giant.
Yeah, Chris is not. I don't know why.
Yeah, why is that?
What's your problem?
The promotional materials for this movie. All right, you got the main group of kids, and they got their avatars in this game world. Mm-hmm. And that's all original, I think, right?
The main group, yeah.
But they try to tease you with the other licensed characters.
Yeah.
But the thing they tease you with the most, and it's too much, is the Iron Giant.
Well, it's not too much if you love the Iron Giant.
I do love it, but it's not Ready Player One starring the Iron Giant. It's starring hundreds of other characters. It should be the Iron Giant, like, hanging off of the Eye of Sauron. And in the foreground is, like, Chun-Li doing the big scissor kick. And somewhere, maybe you got, like, Freddy Krueger's claw in the corner of the poster. And that's what the posters should have been. But no, you get the group of kids, the teenagers, and then in the distance is the Iron Giant. It's like whoever owns Iron Giant gave him a better deal.
Yeah. You got the DeLorean all over it, too.
Yeah, that's true.
Now-
He drives
Well, it's
it.
freaking the Iron Giant is from Robert Zemeckis. So
Exactly. The DeLorean is his vehicle of choice anytime he needs a vehicle. And it's not just the DeLorean. Like, if you look at the front of it, it's got the little pulsing red stripe from KITT in Knight Rider.
Oh, wow. Okay.
People are saying that the main guy is wearing, like, Han Solo's pants. And I was like, what? Like, how? Those are Han Solo's pants. You go back, you watch Star Wars, he's like, he's wearing pants, that's for sure. I don't know. What the hell?
But they say, dude, there are minute
Oh,
details
yes, there are.
oh wow.
that you got to pay attention to. Ben Mendelsohn is in this movie. I like him.
You gotta love Ben Mendelsohn.
He's the bad guy, I guess.
Yeah, and he was the bad guy in Rogue One.
Yeah, that's right.
He was also in The Dark Knight Rises, and he was the boss of Burn Beatbox
Gorman.
Gorman.
There you go.
So I think he doesn't show up a lot, but when he does, it's gold.
Yeah. Also, Claire Higgins is in this
Oh, I can't believe you knew that.
movie. Julia.
She has a glacial beauty.
I was going to drop that on you guys like a bomb.
I couldn't resist.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, pull up your Han Solo pants, put a leash on those gremlins, and gas up the DeLorean, because it's Ready Player One on Movies with Ron.
You like that?
Yeah, the DeLorean does not run on gas, but yes.
That's right.
It's showtime.
Don't forget the dicks.
Get the people out. Come on. Get the people out.
So we open up with a shot of the Stacks, which are the slums of Columbus, Ohio, in the year 2045. And the Stacks are just trailers piled up on top of one another, like piled up like 15, 20 high.
Oh.
And you hear a voiceover, and it's our main character, played by Ty Sheridan. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "This is the dystopic future that I live in." And he lives like near the top of it. He's like, "Yeah, everything here is shit, okay? Like, there is nothing left to do at all except jump, dun, 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 dun." The song's playing. It's like, yeah. 80s movie, baby. And he climbs out of his window in his trailer, and he has to like climb down the other trailers just to get to the ground. And while he's doing that, he passes by all these different windows, and we see in each window somebody's in there, and they are jacked into this virtual world we're about to be introduced to. And like one of them is this fat lady, and she's like boxing, okay? And all she's wearing is she's wearing clothes. But she's wearing a pair of gloves and a visor. So she's in there. She's in the virtual world boxing. Okay.
Yeah.
He keeps going. There's other people doing it. And then there's another large woman, and she is pole dancing.
Oh.
We see drones flying around delivering pizzas. It's perfection. And this whole time Wade is talking to us, and he's like, "Yeah, this is what the world is like now, after the great corn syrup drought and the bandwidth riots." And he's running through these slums, and he goes into this junkyard where it's just piles of junky cars. And he opens up the door to this van, and inside is his honeycomb hideout. He has got a secret van in the middle of the junkyard where he plays his game.
Yeah.
He's like, there is nothing to do except Oasis. And he starts suiting up, like putting on his own gloves and stuff. And he, while he's talking, he's like turning on this treadmill that will move in any direction.
Oh.
So he can just stand on it in the middle of this van and play the game and do whatever he wants. So there is a lot of narrated exposition in this movie. Like, you got to know some stuff before we get started. There's this nerd that created this game world, this virtual world called the Oasis, and his name is James Halliday. And he's played by Mark Rylance. Mm-hmm. The big fucking giant.
What?
The BFG.
Oh, shit. All right. He's also in Bridge of Spies.
Yeah, also Dunkirk, but whatever.
Yeah.
He's the big fucking giant. So it just shows him jack into this game. Shows him jacking. You have to do this before he gets started. He is a teenage boy. And then he goes into the game world. And he sees the word Oasis, and then he travels through the O. And now we're just treated to a big CG trip through the Oasis. And it's like, you can do anything, man. You can surf a 50-foot wave. You can ski down the pyramids. And they show snowy pyramids in Egypt. It's pretty cool.
Oh.
He's like, or you can go mountain climbing with Batman. And then they show that shit. He's like, yeah, you can do anything you want. And that's why people go to the Oasis, but really they stay in the Oasis because of what you can be. And then it's nothing but people's avatars, and you just see anybody you can think of, man. Yeah. In fact, so many, I don't think I'm going to say any of them. I can hardly remember all this bullshit. There's Battletoads, yep.
Yeah, all right.
Some Ninja Turtles, I think. A lot of Street Fighter people. You can collect money in the Oasis and use it to buy things in real life. So there's people that just work in the Oasis too. It's weird. But most people are just there for fun. But you can buy new gloves for gaming and stuff like that. But you can also buy upgrades for your avatar, like weapons and objects, magical objects, I don't know. I'm not a gamer.
Yeah.
But, new power sword things, whatever.
Yeah. But it's immersive because they wear the VR headsets.
Yes.
So it's a lot more addictive, I guess.
Yeah, man. They didn't show anybody having sex, but that has got to be happening. Why would you do anything else in the game world? So he jacks in, and he is immediately looking for his best friend, H. He's like, hey, H, where are you? Yeah, I'm on Planet Doom, baby. And Wade's like, oh, Planet Doom. And they show it, and there is just nonstop war happening on this dark-ass planet. It's like lava and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
The most dangerous place, but really good coin, to be earned. And it shows his buddy H, who is a big, towering black guy.
Is this your man?
And H is in the middle of a raid with all these other people, and they're just fighting these scorpion monsters. I don't know. And Wade's like, hey, is there a prize for this? Is there loot for this, mission? It's like, yeah, of course there is. And then they show it, and it's some magical gauntlet that lets you turn into any giant robot for 2 minutes.
Oh.
Now, as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh, Iron Giant's only a 2-minute thing. Turns out that if you die in Oasis, you lose everything your character has built up. All of his wealth, all of its possessions,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, you can resurrect anytime after that, but you lost everything. And Wade is like, so when you lose your shit, you lose your shit. And it shows people in the real world that have just died in their game, and they are all going crazy. No! Yeah. There's a little girl. Okay. And then it shows this Asian guy in a business office. And he's at his desk, and he throws off his visor and gloves, and he's like, "No!" And he just starts running for the window, and someone has to stop him.
Damn.
So the Oasis was invented by James Halliday with his business partner, Ogden Morrow, who is Simon Pegg.
Oh.
And he's like, the Oasis is the most beautiful place ever. And when James Halliday invented it, he just became the saint of the world. And then one day, in 2040... he died. And it shows Mark Rylance in a casket with quarters over his eyes.
No.
But what he left behind was incredible. And then it shows Mark Rylance sit up out of his casket and turn to the camera. And we see that he recorded a video before his death. If you're watching this, then I am dead. And I want to let you know that I have left in Oasis, hidden away somewhere, an Easter egg, and the person who discovers it is going to inherit my stock in the company, which is $500 billion.
Holy crap.
And also total control over Oasis.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And it shows the entire planet watching this video when it was broadcast. Now, my avatar in the game world, Anorak, who's just like a Gandalf type dude, he has hidden 3 keys all throughout. And the person who has all of those keys gets the Easter egg. Now, these keys, they're not just laying around under a rock, you know. Think of it like an invisible key in a dark room in the middle of some maze.
Oh.
And he goes, so, let the hunt begin. And then it says, Ready Player One. So back with Wade, he's like, okay, people who are looking for the Easter egg, they're called gunters. Egg hunters.
Oh.
All right. A lot of terminology here. The gunters, they found the first challenge, but no one has ever been able to complete it. Like, no one's ever found the first key.
Oh.
And every day, people are doing this challenge. There's also these people called Sixers, and they are gamers that are hunting for the Easter eggs, but they are indentured servants to, like, big conglomerate companies. Like, this company, IOI, will buy all of your personal debt, but now they pretty much own you because you owe them that debt. Mm-hmm. But they will take it out of you by making you hunt for the Easter eggs in the game.
Oh.
Yeah.
And they have this thing called a loyalty farm, and it's all of these little prison cells with people in them that are jacked into the game.
Oh my God.
And they're allowed, like, there's a computer voice that's like, you have a 10-minute break.
Oh.
And if you, like, do the wrong thing, they shock you and stuff. It's horrible. It's like torture prison of the future.
Jeez.
Because control over the Oasis, it's like the Oasis is what controls the planet's economy. And if IOI, independent orgasm injections, if they can control it, well, they got all the money.
Yeah.
And they call them Sixers because when you work for IOI, you are just a number.
Oh.
This company, IOI, is led by a guy named Sorrento, who's Ben Mendelsohn, the big bad guy of the film.
Okay.
So Wade jacked into his avatar. Now, you got your real world name, and then you got your avatar name. And his avatar's name is Parzival. Does that mean anything to you guys?
No.
Well, there was a knight of the round table named Percival. And he's the one who found the Holy Grail by himself.
Oh.
Now, there's also clans in the Oasis, but our 2 little buddies here, they're like, we don't clan up. We work for ourselves. He's talking to H, and he's like, yeah, man, the race today, blah, 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 it's going to be great. Let's go to it. So it turns out that's the first challenge that the Gunters unlocked. It's just a giant vehicle race through New York City.
Oh.
So when I say Parzival, that's Wade's avatar, okay?
Right.
Okay.
The name Wade and the name Parzival, those are the hero of the movie. Yeah, it gets confusing at times. So Parzival, we see, okay, he just looked at fucking video game guy.
Yeah.
You know, with like shaggy blonde spiky type hair,
Yeah.
some facial tattoos, whatever. Han Solo pants, and a Thundercats belt buckle.
Ooh.
Yeah, you gotta be looking at that dick. You want to notice that? H is there at the front of the qualifying line, and he's like, yeah, hey, man, saved you a spot. And there's this empty spot for a car, right? Parzival pulls out his vehicle, which is a teeny tiny little vehicle that he pulls out of like a fanny pack or something, I don't know. And he looks at, there's like a little display comes up. Everything's holograms, whatever. And he's like, oh, man. And it goes, dee, 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 no fuel. He's like, nah, sorry, man, I got to go to the back. H says, oh, man, and you got to, like, grab coins from wrecked cars to be able to pay for your gas? Man, you suck. It's like, yeah, sorry, man, I got nothing.
Yeah. Thanks for explaining that to us, though, H.
That happens a lot in this movie, man. Like, you have, like, you depend on the exposition. So he goes to the back, and he pulls out this little Matchbox car, and then he just throws it onto the ground, and it goes... It's the DeLorean.
All right.
And in the front of the DeLorean is that little red laser thing from Kit,
Yeah.
Oh.
Knight Rider. Knight Rider is a show from the 80s. Black car, red laser thing in the front. And it talked, but this DeLorean doesn't talk. Maybe it does talk. Let's make it talk. So it's like, Parzival, get inside me. So he gets in and, he's revving it up. And then we just see New York City just completely rearrange itself in the skyline. And there's this bridge that like builds itself over the river. And then it's like bing, 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 bong. And everybody. Okay, so different cars that you see in this race. Number 1, H is driving Bigfoot.
Ooh.
You don't even know what that is, do you?
Nope.
Man. It's like the very first famous monster truck.
Oh, wow.
It's an 80s thing. You know what? Half you guys listening to this, don't even bother going to see this movie, y'all. There is the old school Batmobile.
Oh.
There's a Mad Max's Interceptor.
Nice.
Just as the race is beginning, H says to Parzival, "First to the key." Yeah, first to the egg. And it's like, good luck, buddy.
What would you be driving, Ron?
Harley Stone's Jeep from Split Second. What else?
Oh.
I'd pick the Men in Black car.
I'd be driving the Green Goblin Mack truck
Ooh, not bad.
from
Maximum Overdrive.
Maximum Overdrive.
Yeah. Okay, real quick.
Here comes another load of joy.
H is in the front.
Yep.
Parzival's in the back.
Yeah.
Because they're actually in a video game, they can still talk to each other.
Right.
Okay.
And then boom, 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 right next to him, right next to his DeLorean, he looks to the side, and there's this chick on a motorcycle, and it's the Akira motorcycle. That's a big deal. Candy, do you know what that is?
No.
Some old Japanese animation manga thing. Just pretty damn popular.
Oh.
Yeah.
This is noteworthy because back when that anime came out, people wanted a live-action movie made of this, and they went to Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, and both of them called this movie unmarketable.
Oh.
And now this Akira bike is like, center stage.
Yeah.
So he's looking at this chick, and he's like, whoa, sexy gamer girl. So the race begins, all right? People immediately start dying. This race is so hard, okay? There's also so many cars in this race. As soon as it begins, there are crashes.
Yeah.
Okay, and when your vehicle gets destroyed or crashes, it just explodes into gold coins. This also happens if you yourself are killed. You turn into gold coins.
Oh.
So Parzival is like scooping up all these coins, and his fuel gauge is like going up. So we get the DeLorean just like hauling ass through this super hard race. There's like wrecking balls swinging back and forth, all kinds of crap like that all of a sudden comes up out of the road and people crash into. He's talking to H over the radio and he's like, dude, the chick on the Akira bike, I think that's Artemis. And H is like, whoa, really? She's like Trinity from The Matrix. You know, like, people have heard about her. Awesome gamer girl. The highway that they're on all of a sudden just like turns into 6 ramps and they have to like jump over the city. And it's crazy. I am not doing this justice. It's amazing though. He's still collecting money for the fuel. And there are guys in tanker trucks that are in this race and they start crashing. Parzival has to turn his vehicle to flight mode. You know, he turns the tires sideways. Oh. And it makes the profile of his car lower, and he just slides underneath the tanker.
Oh, cool.
And collects a bunch of coins. It's cool. And then the T-Rex comes out and starts killing vehicles.
Really?
Yep. It's awesome. He turns a corner, and he's in like the last leg of the race. And now we see this big, beautiful, wide shot of the Empire State Building with King Kong at the top, fighting the biplanes, you know. Well hung, BBC. Bigfoot still in the front, well, near the front. He starts heading for this part of the road that gets broken by King Kong, who has now started to chase everybody in the race. Oh. Okay, he's zeroed in on them, and he is part of the race. Not like he's competing, he's there to kill them. Yeah. So he swipes and smashes the bridge that they're on, and the 60s Batmobile like, oh, it has to stop. And then H in the Bigfoot, like, he blows a tire and it's like, boom! And he's like, oh man! And then he just slides forward and knocks the Batmobile off of the bridge. Kong has now zeroed in on the DeLorean, and the DeLorean is what he wants. It's like he is only chasing that guy. And it's scary, man. Like, this needs to be a ride at Universal Studios.
Wow.
Yeah.
In the distance, Parzival can see the finish line. And it's like a nice little wrought iron gate to a nice park that says, finish line.
Nobody's ever reached it?
No one has ever reached it, and you're about to hear why. So he starts hauling ass for it. All of a sudden, Kong jumps and then comes down right in front of it and breaks through the road. And he's like, rah! So you just see the top half of him, and he's like beating his chest, rah! And then he drops down, like he's gone, right? Parzival skids to a stop, and he's like, I don't think so. He turns around. Speeding up is Artemis on her Akira motorcycle. He starts waving his hands at her like, stop, stop, you gotta stop, you gotta stop. H says, no, let her go, man. No one's ever done this. She's gonna do it. We see through her heads-up display, she has zeroed in on a little part of the road that is a ramp, and she's just gonna jump over this chasm and go right through the finish line. Parzival actually reaches out and grabs her off of the bike. And this big slow-motion turnaround Matrix-y scene where he just like, yep, took her off of a speeding motorcycle. And so they hit the ground, and she's like, what the hell? They both look forward. The bike continues without her, and it goes up the ramp, launches into the air, and then King Kong's hand just like reaches up and catches it and crushes it.
Oh, shit.
And then he gets back up, and he's like, raw, and he throws the bike down. And the race is over, baby. And that's why no one's ever been able to get past Kong.
Oh.
So she's like, man, what the hell did you do that for? I was going to do it. He's like, no, didn't you just see that? Man, what do you... You're supposed to be a famous gamer, you know? She's like, my bike is trashed. He's like, don't worry. My buddy H, he's a mechanic. He can fix that, like, real quick. So they go to H's workshop, which is, a Jaeger factory. He's got his own private little garage. The three of them walk in, and the very first thing we see is the Iron Giant in the background. And I was like, wait, what? I thought it was going to be that gauntlet. Yeah. Turn into a giant robot for 2 minutes. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Why'd they show that, you know? Artemis is like, whoa, the Iron Giant? Man, where did you find that? Did you buy it? He's like, nah, I'm making it. What do you mean? Well, that's what I do for a living in the Oasis, is I make vehicles and fix them. You know, I make custom stuff. Parzival's like, yeah, check this out. And he opens up this little box. Now remember, if you're not inside of a vehicle, it's a teeny tiny little model of it.
Yeah.
And he starts holding things up, and he's like, look, it's the Sulaco from Aliens.
Oh.
Neku. And then he mentions Dune. It's like, how about the Harkonnen dropship? Man, it folds space so nice.
Damn.
So H is like, yeah, I'll fix your bike in like 5 minutes. Just give me a second. So he walks away. Parzival is nervous as hell because he's in front of this gamer girl that, I guess he sort of has been stalking.
Yeah.
Please get on top of me.
And she looks like a little punk elf. Okay? Like pink hair and a sprightly face.
Mm-hmm.
Manic pixel dream girl.
Yes. Nice. So he's like, oh yeah, he starts talking about James Halliday because he just lives for this guy. So she quizzes him. She's like, yeah, well, what was his favorite shooter? And he's like, GoldenEye. As Odd Job.
That's cheating.
Yeah. And like being in my 30s, I was like, hey, that was for me. What would you do if you won? I don't know. I'd buy a big mansion and stuff. She's like, oh, you think that small, huh? Now I see why you stopped short. And he's like, whoa. I didn't want to ruin my car. Have you seen my car? It's the coolest thing in the game. H walks up and he has fixed the bike, turns it into a teeny tiny little thing, gives it to her, whatever. So she leaves and she's like, I'll see you later, man. I'll wave to you from the finish line, McFly. And then she tussles his hair and leaves. And he's like, I'm in love. He gets a phone call, and it is his aunt. She's like, where the hell are my gaming gloves? Oh, I'm sorry, I borrowed them. I'm coming home now. And then he jacks out of the Oasis and leaves the van. Down by the river. So then he has to go back to his trailer in the stacks. And he gets home, and his aunt's boyfriend is pissed. And he is a very filthy, mulleted piece of crap, abusive boyfriend played by the dad from The Witch.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for him.
He is an expert at everything he does. He ended up zeroing out in this game that he was playing because of the crappy gloves that Wade left behind.
Yeah.
And he actually bet all of their savings
Oh, no.
on this death match, okay? And the aunt is like, well, he's like, yeah, you know, I lost some of the money because of you and your stupid gloves. The aunt's like, well, how much of our house money did you bet? And he's like, well, all of it.
Oh.
She's like, no! She's so upset. She's about to throw him out. She looks at Wade. She's like, you touch my stuff again, and I'm throwing you out. And, you know, the boyfriend, he roughs Wade up a little bit. Wade's like, why do you put up with it? She's like, I'm about to kick you both out. You know what? Don't ever touch my shit again. So then Wade Watts, that's his name, Wade Watts. He actually mentions that his dad gave him this name because it sounds like a superhero name. He's got a sad home life. He's laying on his bed, which is on top of a couple of running washing machines. And he's sitting there narrating, and he's like, yeah, man, rules. I think he's talking about the rules from the first challenge, because every time there's a challenge, there's like a clue. Okay? Mm-hmm. I don't remember any of the clues. Because they're like big poems and stuff, whatever. There's this one thing where he's like, yeah, you know, learn how to break the rules and do other stuff. I don't know. So he's thinking about this. You know, he's trying to decipher it. There are also, like working for IOI, entire teams of people whose job it is to just research the game creator, James Halliday, all of the stuff that he loved, all of his favorite movies, games, everything he liked to eat, and try to use all of that information to find the Easter egg.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Anyway, Wade's like, you know what? James Halliday, he hated rules. Maybe I'll go to the Halliday Journal. And he goes there in the Oasis, and it's a museum about this game creator. BFG, baby. So he goes into this museum, and there is a curator who is just like a robot rolling around on one wheel. But he's got like a silver human face and a British accent. And the robot is like, oh, look at you, here again, Mr. Parzival. Okay, well, what can I show you for the millionth time? And it's like, in this museum is everything that this game creator saw or remembered or anything. There's like, you can watch scenes from his life.
Oh, wow.
And he wants to see the scene where Halliday is forcing Ogden Morrow, his partner, out of the company. And he like made him sign his rights away. And they're like in the break room of their video game company. And Simon Pegg is like, I think this is a mistake, man. You know, when we started this, it was awesome, but like it's gotten so big now. And we really just, you gotta make some rules, man. Halliday's like, nah, you know, I hate rules. I liked it when it was just a game. And Halliday, you can tell, is like total nerd. Like he just lives for the game that he created. Mm-hmm. And Parzival, he's like, yeah, okay, I've seen all this. All right. And he starts leaving. And then the scene is still playing behind him, but you hear Halliday say, why can't we just go backwards for once? You know, really fast, pedal to the metal, you know? Bill and Ted did it. And then Parzival's like, oh, holy shit. Backwards. Really fast. And it cuts to a new race.
Oh.
Oh, shit.
Yep, and Parzival's in the DeLorean, and he's just sitting there. And he has a really serious look on his face. Next to him is Artemis on the Akira bike, and she's like, ready to give it another try, baby. She's like, yeah, all right. Hey, kid. You know, you're gonna suck. You're gonna suck again. And he just kind of looks at her and then just goes back to his own thoughts. And she looks at him and goes, you figured something out. And he's like, and he looks away from her again. She's like, tell me what the hell's going on. And then the race goes bing, 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 bong. And everybody speeds ahead.
Yeah.
Except the DeLorean just sits there.
Wow. I'm a pretty girl. Tell me the secret.
Yeah, really.
Artemis looks in her rearview mirror and just sees the DeLorean just still like disappearing into the distance behind her. And then we're back with Parzival, and he opens up the DeLorean door, leans out, and just hits the gas and starts going backwards.
Damn.
Now behind him, there is a giant wall, and he's gonna hit it. And he's like, nope, that's it. And he just pushes the gas down even harder. He's going so fast. And then all of a sudden, a ramp goes boom and drops. And he goes down underneath the game world. And he still has to steer through it like really fast, like a race, but there's like no threats. He can actually see the rest of the race going on above him. Like you can see the T-Rex stomping around.
That is so cool.
Killing people. And so he's driving backwards through the whole race. You know, he's just bypassing all the danger. And he even sees King Kong like smashing all these other cars. And then King Kong looks down and sees him. Oh. And he's like, "Roar!" And then all of a sudden, near the end of the race, another ramp pops up and he comes back up into the game and just flies up underneath Kong and goes right through the finish line.
Wow.
There you go.
And Kong like turns around and is like, "Roar!" And so then he just drives into this nice empty Central Park looking thing. And there's all of these musical instruments that are just floating in the air, and they all just start playing. Dun, 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 dun. He gets out of his car, and all these leaves, they start swirling around. And then they go together and form Anorak, the big,
Gandalf guy?
Gandalf dude. Oh. He walks up to Anorak, who says, "Nice racing, Padawan." Sir, it is an honor to meet you." "No, the honor is all mine." And then he holds up the copper key.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm. So there's this big leaderboard in Oasis, and you can look up at any time and see it. And for the entire time that the Oasis has been in existence, or that this Easter egg hunt has been going on, the leaderboard has been completely empty. And now his name, ding, 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 Parzival, goes up.
Yeah.
And it also says that he wins 100,000 coins.
Whoa.
Yeah, $100,000, I guess. But not only does he win the key, but he wins a clue to unlock the next challenge. And Anorak just turns and goes, "Here, get yourself a clue." So he goes and he picks it up, and he's like, "Yeah." And then it just cuts to IOI, and there's Sorrento and the rest of the board, and they're all like, "Who the hell is Parzival, whatever." And they're all talking about boring ass shit like debt services and shareholders and stuff, you know. And Sorrento, he gets up and he's like, "Now listen, everybody. When we take over Oasis, this is what we're going to turn it into." And you see the Oasis, but then it's completely covered in advertising.
Oh, God.
And he's like, "We have figured out that we can fill 80% of your visual field with advertisements before you have a seizure."
Oh.
This one guy's like, "But that's assuming we win the Easter egg."
Yeah.
Sorrento like turns around. Yes, it is.
That's a good bad guy.
Yeah.
A guy who wants to fill it with ads.
And then it just cuts to Parzival and H going shopping, baby. He's got $100,000. He's gonna spend it. And the first thing he buys is a holy hand grenade.
What is that from?
Monty Python.
Oh.
Losers. And then he looks over and there's like another thing. It's like, "Hey, look at this." And it's a Rubik's Cube, but it's called a Zemeckis Cube.
Oh.
And he's like, "Ooh, yeah, I want one of these." He picks it up. And then he goes over and he buys himself an X1 suit. And it's a skin-tight bodysuit that in the real world, he puts it on to do his gaming. And that means he can feel when anything happens to him. He's not just wearing gloves and a headset. Okay.
Yeah.
Like if somebody touches his dick, he comes.
Oh.
They even mentioned that the crotch has microfiber inserts, you know?
There you go.
Oh, my gosh.
It's so weird.
Damn.
And in the real world, the suit will light up if he's feeling something from it. But you also feel it if you get shot.
Right.
Ooh.
And it shows him in his trailer, like, opening up the box, like, "All right." And it cuts to Sorrento, and he is jacking off in his bathroom before he goes into the Oasis. But when he goes to the Oasis, he's got like this real nice chair that he sits in the middle of his office. And it looks like this big ball. It's weird and cool looking. You know, it's like the Emperor's throne. Okay.
Yeah.
And he has to look down and look at his password that he's got on a Post-it note right next to him, so he can jack into the Matrix or the Oasis.
Yeah.
Because he's a businessman.
Yeah.
He's
an
not
old
a gamer.
guy. Yeah.
So he goes into the Oasis, and he looks like an evil version of Clark Kent without glasses, but like huge and muscly, like Superman just put on a suit.
Yeah.
And he's got like yellow eyes.
What's his username?
Bossman69. That's the password. And he goes to this desolate battlefield, and there's like a broken down War of the Worlds alien ship.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
But there's all of these dead, victims on this battlefield. And he's like walking through them in his suit. And then he goes and finds this other guy. This guy named IROC. That's little I, big R, OK. And IROC is like a mercenary. He's not like a Sixer. He's like a super mercenary that can be hired by anybody.
Okay.
And his whole body is like, his torso is a big skull face. And like you can see through the eye holes, like all the way through his body. He's huge. He's tough. Everything about him is skull themed. He's dark. He's got a purple hood on, and he is voiced by TJ Miller, man. He's so huge and tough looking, and he just like talks like a regular guy, yo.
Yeah. That's kind of fitting, actually.
It's exactly fitting, yeah. And he's got to say some stuff like TJ Miller, there's 3 things that I hate. One is steampunk, the other is pirates, and the other is tabbouleh. I mean, why do they even have tabbouleh? Anyway, he has just killed a steampunk pirate to get some kind of artifact for Sorrento. And it is the Orb of Osovox, something like that. I don't know, but it's a big glowing ball. He's like, here you go, the Orb of Osovox. It's, it grants you an impenetrable shield that can, it has to be activated by a magical spell. Can only be deactivated by a magic spell. Here you go, man. You wanted this, right? And he's like, yeah, you know what? Why don't you hold on to that for me? I've got a new job for you. Parzival.
Oh, no.
IROC is like, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, he's pretty hot shit right now. He's the only one on the leaderboard. Look at that. So you want to know who he is? Like, yeah, I want to know. Well, I don't know, man. I'm pretty busy. What do you want, IROC? And IROC's like, yeah, you know what? That's why I like you, man. Sorrento, you never lick. You only bite. You get right to the center of that Tootsie Pop, man. You don't lick that thing. You remember that old commercial, with the owl? I loved it, man. So now we find out that Artemis watched what Parzival did, and then she just copied him. And then Parzival actually also told H, because he's his buddy. So he went and got his own copper key.
Oh, so it's not just one.
Right.
Okay.
Oh.
So the main prize, the big Easter egg, control over the Oasis and the $1 trillion, that's for the first one to get it.
Yeah.
But you can't get that unless you have found the 3 keys to unlock the door to it.
Right.
Okay.
So those 3 get it, and then the next 2 to do it are a couple of brothers named Daito and Sho. And they're like samurais, Yeah, they are part of this group of 5. Now they're all friends. And since they're the first ones to get the key, first ones on the leaderboard, they are called the High Five. And now they're all celebrities.
Oh.
So now they all have the clue to go to the Jade Key. And the clue is stuff like, you need to escape your past and find a creator who hates his creation and stuff like that. And they have to keep this clue to themselves or other people are going to go try to do the challenge.
Yeah.
So at night, Wade is sitting in bed and he's looking at his wall, which is completely covered in stuff about James Halliday. Like articles and pictures of Morrow and Morrow's wife. And he's like, what part of your past do you want to escape, Mr. Halliday? What part? And then it just cuts to the next day, and he's in the Oasis again, and he's walking into some building, and he immediately gets mobbed by people who recognize him. The very first of which is Beetlejuice. Hey! It's Parzival! And then one of my favorite things happens in this movie. Not my most favorite, that's coming. Goro comes stomping up to Parzival and he's like, you, hey, you're famous now. You can't just go wherever you want. And he grabs him and he drags him down a hall and into a private room, where it's just the two of them. And he's like, you need to be wearing a disguise now. And Parzival is scared as shit. It's Goro in front of him, okay? Big four-armed bad guy from Mortal Kombat 1.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Goro just starts going, and his chest starts moving like there's something inside of it, and then a chestburster alien busts out. What? And it's like, rah, rah. Parzival's like, oh my God! And then the chestburster turns around and starts like eating on Goro upwards. And it turns out that Goro is a suit. And the chestburster is unzipping it. And then out walks Artemis.
Oh.
And the chestburster was just a puppet on her hand.
Damn.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
She's like, I told you, you need to be wearing a disguise now. Everybody knows who you are. People are going to be watching you and copying everything you do. She's like, here you go. Clark Kent glasses. This is what you need. And he's like,
Please sit on my feet.
So it shows his avatar Parzival walking around in glasses and a suit with his hair slicked back so people don't recognize him. It doesn't really mean much because the rest of the movie he's just looks normal.
Yeah.
So the two of them go back to the Halliday Library, the museum, and they are watching just a scene of a random day when Morrow and Halliday were inventing the game together. So they're like in there at their computers and they're talking, about stuff. But who we really zero in on is the guy walking into the room bringing in the coffee. And Artemis is like, wait a minute, is that? Yeah, that's right. That's Sorrento.
Whoa.
Holy shit.
And it shows young ass Ben Mendelsohn walking in with coffee and, handing it to super nerd James Halliday.
Yeah.
Who is like a total antisocial nerd, but the king of the building, And Sorrento is like, yeah, you could have different tiers of membership. You could have like a copper level and a, silver and a gold level. And I don't know, the highest level could be like water, like Oasis. And then it shows Halliday just go, yeah. And he drinks the coffee and he goes, good latte. See ya. It's like totally snubbed him. So then Halliday looks at Morrow and he's like, I had a date last night. Whoa, are you kidding, man? You went on a date? Look at you. What's her name? Well, I told you her name is Kira, like from the Dark Crystal. He's like, no. That's her avatar name, man. What's her real name? Like, what was it like? What did you guys do? Well, she wanted to go dancing, so we watched a movie. And it's like, oh, okay. Morrow's like, come on, man. All right. So y'all were watching a movie together. What happened, baby? Come on, give me some details. And it shows Parzival and Artemis, and they're like, yeah, wow. He went on a date? That's weird. But Parzival already knew all this. That's why he called up the scene. Yeah, he went on a date with this girl named Kira. And then the name Kira is never mentioned ever again in the archives. Now, the museum curator is standing there watching them, and he's like, what? That can't be possible. Because Kira ended up later in life marrying Morrow and becoming his wife.
Damn.
And Parzival's like, no, for real. I've been through all of these archives. It is never mentioned again. And the curator's like, you want to bet? All right. And then he looks it up, and he's like looking, scanning. And then he's like, well, I'll be. You're right. Well, a bet's a bet. And he reaches into his pocket and then bing, flips a quarter to Parzival. Parzival's like, oh yeah, a quarter. Great. And he flips it back. Then the curator's like, no. You won this. I'm a man of my word. Here you go. And he gives it to him. Then Artemis is like, do you know the club Distracted Globe? Yeah, it's a dance club. Are you free Thursday? Meet me there. There's something I want to show you. Parzival's like, okay. And then she leaves. And he looks at the curator. He's like, did she just ask me out? Oh my God. And now we have Parzival and H choosing what he is going to wear to the club. He's like, what do you think? How about Thriller? And he's wearing the red leather. Like, no, man. Don't go with that. Okay, well, what about Punk? And he's got a mohawk or whatever. No, man, that's not you. That's not you. How about Duran Duran? And he's just dressed like Simon Le Bon.
Wow.
And then H is like, listen, man, I don't like this. Well, what do you mean? This girl is clearly using you to find clues to figure out the challenges, man. I don't know. I'm just really starting to develop an emotional connection with her. It's like we, finish each other's sentences. Yeah, man, you and me do that. I'm your best friend, man. What's going on here? And then Parzival's like, I got it. And he holds up an outfit, and it is just like a gray suit with a white shirt and a tie, whatever. And it's the tie's pretty loose. And then he's wearing it, and then H is like, Buckaroo Banzai?
No.
Yeah. Your favorite movie? It's like, yeah, man. Man, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. Calm down, dude. Man, she could be a dude, right? Like, all you know is her avatar. Like, she could be a 300-pound guy living in his mom's basement in Detroit named Chuck. And it just cuts to the club. And it's all like, you spin me right round, baby, right round. And it is full of characters. There's like Lara Croft walking around. There's like, I don't know, fucking cat people.
Can there only be one Lara Croft?
There can be only one. I'm sure there can be more. There has to be able to be more.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, there's like Harley Quinn. She's on the dance floor with the Joker. Different characters around, whatever. You see these 3 girls. Harley Quinn is actually one of them. And they're all sitting at this table in the club. The music's all like... And then up to the table walks I-Rock. And he just looks like a big World of Warcraft villain made out of skulls, He is the scariest thing. He comes and he sits down at the table with them. And they all just stop and stare at him. So then he's just like looking... And then he turns and looks at them. And they're all just staring at him. And he goes, why don't you go away now? And they just run. Parzival meets up with Artemis. And she's in a, sexy red dress. She's like, hey, Buckaroo Banzai. And he's like, oh, she got it. She got it. So now I-Rock is like using one of his many character upgrades. And he's listening to their conversation from far away. He's spying on them. He needs to find out who this kid is. The Clue had also talked about the leap never taken. So it turns out that Halliday never went on a date again with Kira. And he just went back to his life of just like creating the game world, making Oasis. But he never stopped thinking about her. And because she wanted to dance that night, he made a nightclub. And it was this club. Oh. And he was planning on asking her back out and taking her to it so that she could dance. Mm-hmm. But he never had the balls. So he just made the club, and it turns out that he hated it. So in the Clue, there was the creator who hates his creation, right? Oh. So what's the leap never taken? They look over at the dance floor. It's not a floor at all. If you want to dance in this club, you're floating in the air, baby.
Damn.
Everybody's flying around and dancing. You just zero gravity and like gyrate your body. So they walk up to the edge of it, and he's like, well, this isn't going to work. Hundreds of people jump off of this thing every day. They leap off of it every day. She's like, yeah, but they don't have the copper key. So come on. She grabs him and they jump off. Nothing happens. They're just floating around. And Parzival, he's still dancing with Artemis, this chick that he likes. So he's like, yeah, all right, cool. And then he goes into his little menu thing and he chooses a Saturday Night Fever theme. And so it makes a little fake, square lit dance floor underneath them, and it starts playing, ha, 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 staying alive.
Awesome. I love it.
And then everybody in the club's like, whoa, all right. And they like make a circle around them and watch them dance together. So she starts flirting and she's like, ooh, so what'd you buy with your winnings? Did you buy an X1 suit? Can you feel this? And she starts rubbing her hands on his body. And in the real world, we see him in his van and his body starts like glowing where her hands are. You can see her handprints on it.
Is he like dancing in his van?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
He's like, yeah, I got the new one with the microfiber crotch inserts. And she's like, all right. And then she like gets down and crawls underneath his legs, but rubs his crotch while it's happening. And we see in the van, his crotch starts glowing.
Oh, jeez.
And he's like, oh, God. And then he looks at her and he's like, I love you.
Good Lord.
What?
Yep. That's like people's one complaint about this movie.
Oh.
Yeah. Shouldn't have grazed his crotch.
Yeah. She's like, yeah, you know what? I was just feeling it in the moment, but I really regret it. I think we should meet up in the real world. And she's like, no. You're in love with my avatar. You know, this is not the real me. And he's like, yeah, you could be a 300 guy named Chuck. 300 pounds. And she's like, yeah, you know what? I totally am. This isn't my real body and it's not my real face. You'd be disappointed.
Oh.
And then he goes, my name's Wade. And she stops him. She's like, whoa, man, no. And then over at the table, IROC is like, stupid ass kid.
Oh, shit.
Damn.
He's like, Buckaroo blows it. Shocking. She's like, dude, people are going to have heard that. People can figure out who you are now. You are so stupid, man. He's like, but I love you. She's like, no. And then boom, the IOI crashes into the club with vehicles and like foot soldiers. And they're all like, come on. I don't know. Capture everybody. You never really find out what they were planning to do, but they just start shooting. Okay. Artemis reaches into her handbag, pulls out a tiny little weapon. And once she activates it, it's huge. And it is an alien's pulse rifle. Oh. And she starts going like, let's rock. They start shooting at all these bad guys. And these bad guys are just like shock troopers with IOI written across their face plates. But they are all real people off at the loyalty farms for IOI.
Yeah.
So they're holding their own. And then IROC is like, all right. And he aims his big super skull gun and he takes real careful aim, boom. And then he shoots over and it hits them. And they're like on the ground, like, oh, geez, And then Parzival starts blinking red. And she's like, your armor is really low. And then Parzival's like, oh, geez. Oh, yeah. And he reaches into his bag and pulls out the Zemeckis cube. And when it shows it in his hand, you hear that Back to the Future piano where it goes, during like the slow parts of Back to the Future, remember?
Yeah.
And he activates it, and it sends them 60 seconds into the past.
Holy shit.
Oh.
Yeah, so it reverses all the invasion, them getting shot and everything, and they just run out of the club. So the whole thing was, meaningless. Artemis yells at him for talking about loving her. She's like, man, you're in this to buy a mansion or whatever, but I'm in this to take down IOI, okay? My father, he worked himself to death in the loyalty farms, They bought his debt, and he died there. He died there working his ass off, and I am going to stop this. That is why I need to find the Easter egg, and I cannot let you distract me. And she leaves.
Wow.
Now we see Sorrento and IROC, and Sorrento in the real world is talking to IROC on a computer screen. We never in the movie see IROC's real body.
Yeah.
IROC's like, man, whatever plan you had there, it failed because it sucks. You should have stuck with me and my plan. So I took the name Wade and I ran it across all the Wades that bought an X1 bodysuit. And here he is, Wade Watts. He lives in the slums called the Stacks in Columbus, Ohio.
Shit.
It shows Sorrento talking to this girl named Finale. And he's like, yeah, you like your job? You like working here? That's cool. Listen, we got to find out what the hell's going on. We need to find this Wade kid and make him go away. Okay, so if you like your job, you're gonna get this done. You need to find him. So the next day, Wade is getting into his van and he looks into his visor. And just inside the visor, we see Wade Watts. There is an invitation from Mr. Sorrento. Click yes to join the conversation. And he's like, oh, geez.
Yeah.
So he goes in and he hits yes. Sorrento is not in the Oasis, so he starts talking to Parzival, who is now a hologram in his own office. Parzival's like, wow, man, nice office. Hey, nice rig you got there. It looks like a giant hamster ball. This thing's nice. He's looking at it. He's checking it out. He looks down and he sees Sorrento's password on a Post-it note.
Oh, shit.
But he acts like he doesn't notice it. And he's like, this is so nice. Sorrento's like, if you come and work for me, you get one of these. You get one of these. You get special treatment. You get the best equipment. Okay. And you know what? You actually get a real salary, dude. You get $4 million a year.
Ooh.
You like living in the slums? You want to take care of your aunt? Come on, man. And, Parzival's like, nah, dude, you're the man. You're the one. You suck. I don't know a whole lot about you, but I'm pretty sure Mr. Halliday didn't want you to win the Easter egg. Sorrento's like, nah, man. Look, I'm a businessman. That's true. But when I want to, chill out, I'm like drinking Tab and listening to Duran Duran, And now we see that he has an earpiece in, and there is a team of people telling him what to say.
Oh, no.
Talk about drinking Tab, listening to Duran Duran.
Oh, my God.
Parzival's like, yeah, I just don't think you and me, we don't have the same ideals. I don't think that would work. And then Sorrento's like, oh, I get it. You're not a John Hughes fan, huh? And Parzival's like, well, yeah, why? Well, because when I take over the Oasis, my very first change is going to be turning every school into the high school from The Breakfast Club and also from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And Parzival is like, really? Yeah, man. And hey, you know what else? What do you want? What kind of vehicle do you want? You want the Millennium Falcon? Parzival goes, you guys have that? We sure as hell do, man. And it is yours. You can totally use it whenever you want. Nah, I don't think so. A fanboy knows a hater when he sees one. I can tell you got an earpiece in there. You got a board of directors talking to you there. Well, you tell them that if they fire you, I will consider your offer.
Oh.
And then Sorrento drops the act and he looks at him and he's like, you know what? Man, I am so glad you said no to that offer. You're right. You are totally right. That offer I just made you, I had to because of the board of directors. They made me offer you that. And now that you said no, now I am free to destroy your ass. What do you think of that, Wade? And then Parzival's like, what? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know who you are. Wade Watts. You live at apartment number blah, blah, blah in the Stacks in Columbus, Ohio. Yeah, I know exactly where you are. In fact, you're there right now, aren't you? I mean, who's really going to give a shit about a small explosion in the Stacks?
Damn.
And then he starts to end the call. And Parzival's like, no, I'm not even there right now, no! And then he gets booted out of the meeting. And he runs out of the van and starts bolting down the street. And he's trying to call his aunt. And cell phones are just like things that you stick in your ear in the future. Yeah. So he's holding his ear and he's like, call my aunt, call her. And in his house, we see her little earphone just ringing on the countertop. Oh. She's in there cooking. And then the boyfriend, piece of shit boyfriend, who I might add, his name is Rick. He picks it up and he answers it. And he's wearing an X1 suit. And the first thing that he says to Wade is, hey man, this X1 suit you got me, this is amazing. I just wanted to say thank you and do not ever call here again.
Oh shit.
He's been thrown out now. He's got money. He doesn't need to live here. Rick does not want him around.
Damn.
And Wade's like, no. You guys got to get out of there. The place is going to blow. And Rick hangs up. His aunt is like, hey, was that Wade? Nah, don't worry about it, babe. And he goes back into his room to do more gaming. We see a bunch of drones come and plant explosives on her stack tower, and it just blows up and falls.
Oh, God.
Damn.
So she dies. As soon as it starts falling, Wade stops. Everybody starts running towards it to save anybody, or whatever, to see what's happening. And Wade immediately just turns around and starts leaving. He knows everybody's dead. Mm-hmm. He knows Sorrento is going to fuck him until there is nothing left to be fucked. Wade gets into his van and he calls H. He's like, yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on. They just tried to kill me. And then this creepy dude with a face tattoo just rises up behind him. He's been in the van the whole time waiting for him.
Oh, God.
And then he just grabs him and puts a bag over his head, The bag is pulled off, and he is now in the headquarters of the rebellion in the middle of Columbus, Ohio. In front of him is a young, pretty little redhead teenage girl. And she's like, hey, my name is Samantha. You know me as Artemis.
Oh.
And he's like, whoa. So she's got this red hair, but it's kind of hanging down in front of one of her eyes. And when she moves, it turns out that she's got this big, giant birthmark around one of her eyes. It's like real big and loud, okay? Yeah. But, you know, she's just a pretty young girl with a birthmark on her face.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he sees her and he's like, hey, you don't have to hide that. Because she's like hiding it with her hair. No. Look, hey, I am not disappointed.
I hate your face.
They go up on the roof and, you know, they got like a greenhouse. There's plants. They're growing their own food there and they're outside. And he's like, man, I like never go outside. She's like, yeah, you kind of forget what it's like, you know? Oh shit, I just figured it out. We got to go to the Oasis now. So they go to their own rigs and there's like a whole bunch of people in this quote unquote rebellion. They're all trying to take down IOI and Samantha is the leader. So she's got like handlers and tenders that are handing her gloves and visors and stuff like that so she can jack in. Wade goes into and they meet the rest of the High Five at the Halliday Library. And Artemis is explaining, okay, so here's the thing. She wanted to go dancing on the date, but what did they end up doing? They went to a movie. Okay, so we know the exact date and time that he went to the movies, okay? Every movie he ever saw, he recorded when he saw it and how many times he saw it and shit like that, okay? So on this such and such date and time, these are the movies that were out in the city that he was in. So now we just need to figure out which one it was. So the first choice is the remake of The Fly.
Woohoo!
Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah. How about Say Anything? You know, it's a rom-com, right? Like, I bet they went to that. Yeah. And they're looking at all these movies that are just floating around them. Like there's DVDs floating around the room. And then Parzival is like, oh, no. This is it. And he grabs one and holds it up to them and it's The Shining.
Oh.
And they're like, why the hell would it be The Shining? Well, Stephen King wrote The Shining. Okay. And then they made the movie of it and Stephen King hates the movie. I mean, he hates it. He is a creator who hates this creation.
Oh, yeah.
So that's it. We need to go see The Shining. And then the curator of the museum is like, yep, okay, all right, booting it up now. And then they're standing out on a street in front of an old-timey movie theater called The Overlook. And we immediately hear, bomb, 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 bomb.
Oh, that's so awesome.
It is awesome. And they're like, all right. And then they just run into the movie theater and immediately inside, they're in the lobby of the Overlook Hotel.
Oh,
Damn.
And it is an exact replica. It is beautiful.
I'll bet Spielberg loved this.
Yes.
Kubrick was a good friend of his.
Uh-huh. They walk up to the typewriter that is constantly typing, but it's by itself. And the manuscript next to it, instead of being full of prose that's just made up of all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, they are all written in the shape of a key.
Oh.
But this manuscript is flying away one page at a time, like one every second. Dato and Sho are like, hey, that is a ticking clock. We have a time limit on this mission. Artemis is like, okay, well, by the looks of the manuscript, we got about 5 minutes to get this key and get out of here. And then H, big old tough black guy, he turns around to Sho and he's like, hey, I never seen The Shining. Is it like scary? I had to watch it through my fingers. So they're all hunched over the typewriter trying to figure out where to go or what to do. And H is standing behind them when all of a sudden a tennis ball rolls up and hits his foot.
Ooh.
He turns around. He's like, oh. And he picks up the ball and like walks around the corner. And there's the twins standing in front of the elevators. Right in front of the big red elevators. And he's like, hey, you girls, you're pretty cute. You don't happen to know like the way out of here, do you? And they just go, come and play with us, Danny. And then they walk into the elevator and shut the door. And he's like, oh, is that the way out? Okay. And he runs up to the elevator and pushes the button. Ding! Right then, the others are like, hey, where's H? Oh, shit. And they run around the corner and find him, and the elevator door is about to open up. And it does, and all the blood comes flooding out into the hallway, and then it keeps flooding. And they get carried away in the flood, like down the hallway of the hotel. Oof. And it's real violent. It's like they're in like a river with rapids. Okay?
Wow.
And the whole time we are like, the audience, are with H. And he's like, ah, ah. We're kind of seeing it from his point of view. And he's like clawing at the walls to stop being carried away. And as he passes by, we see a photo on the wall, which is the ballroom at the end of The Shining. And in front, instead of Jack Nicholson, it's James Halliday.
Oh, wow.
And he is standing there with Kira. As he passes it, he tries to grab onto it to stop himself, and he rips it in half right between the two of them. So, symbolism. Oh. He finally escapes into one of the hotel rooms. I'll give you one guess which one. It's room 237. And he walks in and finds a naked lady in a tub. And he's like, oh, naked lady. Okay, can you maybe tell me where all the exits are for this hotel? And she just gets up. She looks quite similar to the actual actress. Like, yeah. Someone probably had fun animating this whole sequence. And she just approaches him, and he's like, oh, and he starts looking away, nah. And she's like putting her arms out. She's naked, and he's all like, big guy in like body armor.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to go with this. And then he reaches down and he starts kissing her. And then he looks over her shoulder into the mirror behind her, and her back is covered in all those gross liver spots. And he's like, oh shit. He pulls away, and she's like, rah! And she is way better looking than the lady in the movie. She is nasty looking. She's got pieces of her missing. She holds up an axe and she's like swinging it at him. He backs away. As he's running through the bathroom, we see all of these big axe blades are like crashing through the walls. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh shit. And he falls into the bathtub and like keeps falling. Like it's like super deep.
Shit.
He falls out in the snowy maze. That's where he lands. And the lady is still coming after him. She's like a zombie lady with an axe, okay? And she's chasing him, and he's like, oh, shit. He's running. Now she's a giant lady with an axe, and she's trying to chop him. He has to avoid this giant axe, and then he hears somebody coming up behind him, and he turns around and looks, and we see the legs of Jack Nicholson limping through the maze. Like he's dragging his leg, Yeah. And he's coming at him, but we never see his face. Oh. He's holding that axe. He's coming to get him. And then all of a sudden, through the hedges, some hands reach out and grab and pull him through, and he comes out of the walk-in fridge in the kitchen, and the rest of the 5 are there. Oh. They're the ones who pulled him out. So they're all trying to figure out what to do. Artemis is like, okay, so we need to know what Kira looks like. We need to know who we're looking for, And then H is like, hey, I saw a picture of Kira in the hallway. Well, show us. So we go back to that photo. And Artemis is like, that's it. You know what? It was kissing Kira. That was the leap that he couldn't take. Mm. That was his biggest fear, was kissing a girl. So what do we do now? And now we just hear, and we walk into the gold room. And immediately after the door in the gold room, the floor falls away, and it's just a giant black dark chasm. And above them are floating all of these green zombie ghosts that are dancing. Somebody was like, this wasn't in the movie. Like, no, it's in Holliday's mind. We see one of the zombies is dancing with live Kira, and she has a look on her face like, get me out of here. Everybody else is like, hey, we probably got 30 seconds left of the original 5 minutes, so we need to do this now. Well, what do we do now? How do we get to her? Artemis says, take the leap. And then she jumps off of the ledge and grabs onto one of the dancing zombies, and everybody else gets thrown out of the theater because the 5 minutes are up. But Artemis has already taken that leap, okay? So now she's not floating like the rest of the dancers. She has to hold onto them to stay up. And she has to jump from one to the other. And as she grabs onto them, some of them will like try to bite her and stuff.
Yeah.
So she actually has to jump across, and then she saves Kira from the one that she's dancing with.
It's like a game.
It is like a game. So they get onto the ledge on the far side. Kira stands up and is looking at Artemis, and Artemis is just like, and then she holds her hands out and she goes, "May I have this dance?"
Oh.
And Kira just smiles and looks at her. She's like, "You have no idea how long I've been waiting for you to ask me that."
Whoa.
And then she turns into Anorak, who's like, "You found my jade key."
Wow.
Imagine that. And then Artemis looks at him and she's like kind of sad. She's like, Kira was a very beautiful... Go on. Get your clue and your key. I don't want to talk about it. Now, back at IOI, they can see on the leaderboard that Artemis has just found the Jade Key. So they're in the room full of all the Sixers that are all hooked up into their rigs, and they're all just wearing white jumpsuits, doing whatever they do. And the leaders are like, "She's unlocked the second challenge. Now all we have to do is defeat the Shining Challenge." And out on the floor, you just hear everybody screaming. And they're all going red because their characters are dying, getting killed in The Shining. Now that chick named Finale, she's finally tracked down. She's looking at videos of Wade walking through, the city, the slums. And she finds the guy who blindfolded him, the one with the weird tattoo on his face, and she has him followed. And he goes back to the rebellion headquarters with groceries. And that's where we see Wade and Samantha studying the third clue. Again, I don't remember the poem or whatever, but it was something about like James Halliday's favorite things, growing up, and, his biggest regrets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wade is making notes, okay, about the third clue, and he's writing down like movie titles. We can see a few of them on the paper that he's writing on, and there's like Gremlins, Temple of Doom, like Helm's Deep, from Lord of the Rings. And then down at the very bottom of the list is, I swear to God, the word Krull.
Oh!
And I was like, oh man, it made it. It was just a name on a paper, but it made it. And then boom, the IOI busts in and they are raiding the place. Taking everybody prisoner.
Damn.
Stripping them. Fingers in butts. So Sam is like, "Wade, come with me." She takes him to this back room and she opens up a little escape door and she puts him in it. And he's like, "Yeah, let's go." She says, "Oasis needs you, Wade. I'll delay them and you will forgive me for this." And then she shuts the door. And he's like, "No!" She turns around and gets arrested by the IOI. And they're like, "Yeah, all of your personal debt has been purchased by IOI. And you are now being enslaved into the loyalty farms."
Oh, no.
So now she has to be a Sixer. Wade, escaping into a back alley, he's like wandering around, wondering what to do. When all of a sudden this pair of hands grab him by the shoulders and turn him around. And he's like, "What the hell?" And then this voice just goes, "Wade, it's me. It's H." And he turns and he gets a better look at this person. And they are black, but they're a big, tough black girl.
Oh.
And he's like, "What?" She's like, "You weren't expecting..." And he goes, "Yeah, I was expecting a 300-pound guy named Chuck." She's like, "I know, right? Never trust anybody you meet in Oasis." So Helen's like, "Come on, I got my own van over here. It works." It's like an old postal van. Coming around the corner is the real-world version of Daito, another member of the Five, the High Five.
Oh.
And he's like, "Whoa, man, what are you doing here?" "Samantha texted us to meet you here just, a few minutes ago. It's lucky that we all live in Ohio."
Yeah, there you go.
So they escape in H's van. In the van, we meet the real-world version of Sho, Daito's brother. Wade looks at him and he's like, "What the hell?" And Sho is like, "Yeah, so what?" Sho is an 11-year-old boy. He's like, "If I look like I'm a kid in Oasis, Everybody wants to kill me for some reason. So I look like a giant ninja.
Shut up, baby dick.
They learn that IOI has cracked the first 3 lines in the poem, so they know where the challenge is, and it is on Planet Doom in Castle Anorak. So you had to know something was going to be there. There's a castle named after the guy? Come on.
Yeah.
And they found the 3rd challenge, which is down in the bowels of the castle, there's like this big ice lake. In the middle of the lake, there's a TV set with an Atari 2600. And there's a whole shit ton of Atari games sitting there. So the 3rd key is to be found in one of these games. And they're like, what was James Halliday's favorite Atari game as a kid? And they're all playing all of them. In IOI, they have a big line of Sixers, just like standing there. And when you get up and it's your turn, you get into the Oasis rig, and the guy standing next to you just tells you which game to try, because they're just going through them sequentially.
Yeah.
You'll get on, you'll play this game, and then like a minute or 2 later, you'll die, and you'll just fall into the ice. And then you get zeroed out. So you lose all your shit.
Oh.
And then when you come out of the rig, they're like, get in the back of the line. So you just keep going. Wade finds out that Samantha has been taken prisoner and indebted into the Sixer program. The rest of the 5 are like, we have to go and rescue her. And Wade's like, damn, dude, how are we going to do that? Helen, you guys know who Helen is?
No.
That's H.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Nice.
Black chick in the real world. She's like, how much of Sorrento's Oasis rig do you remember? And Wade thinks about it, and he remembers the password on the note, and he goes, quite a bit, actually. And it's like, dun, 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 dun. So now we see Samantha in the loyalty farm, and it sucks. She's like in her tiny little cell, and the gloves and the headset are on her, and they are strapped onto her. She cannot remove them.
Oh, God.
In the game world, in Oasis, she's just like, little Elfie Artemis, in a work jumpsuit, and there's some guard like cracking a whip, like, come on, put these charges all around the castle. Do it. She's like, I don't even know where I am. And they're like, do it. And in the real world, her leg gets shocked.
Oof.
Oh.
Yeah, so that sucks. Sorrento is now in the Oasis meeting with IROC, and he's like, hey, you remember that orb with the impenetrable shield? I need that now. So they activate it, and now there is this giant shield bubble all around Castle Anorak.
Oh.
So Sorrento gets that done, and he's like, okay, all right, I'm just going to leave. And as he takes off his visor, there are 2 guns in his face. Mm-hmm. And he looks up, and it's Daito and Wade.
Oh.
And he's like, oh, shit. Tell us where Samantha is. She's downstairs in the loyalty farm. Yeah, but you're going to tell us exactly where she is and how to get us out of there. Daito, get that information from him. And then Wade walks out of the room. And in the next room, he walks up to a desk full of computers, and at the desk is H, the Oasis H. And there's Wade standing there in front of him. And there's the Oasis show. And then Wade reaches up and opens his Wade suit, and inside is Parzival.
Whoa.
So they are still in the Oasis, and H has hacked Sorrento's rig at the moment that he was leaving Oasis and kept him there and made him think he was in the real world.
Whoa.
Jeez. Holy shit.
Yeah, and then Parzival just put on a Wade disguise.
Sounds so easy to do.
I know. Well, they had his password, but Bossman69. So they continue to hack the system, and they're able to talk to Samantha in her loyalty farm cell. She's in the Oasis doing work, laying all these bombs all over the, around the castle, but she can hear them talking to her. But she can't see the real world. So Wade has to talk her through escaping her cell that she cannot see.
Oh.
He's like, reach your hands up. What do you feel? She's like, I feel a panel. He's like, pull it down. And in Oasis, she's just like out there in the snow, just like moving around. He's like, pull the lever under the panel, and that should release you. And it does. So she gets out, and she's like, oh, woo! And the computer's like, you have a 10-minute break. Be back here in 10 minutes. Wade's like, okay, you need to get the hell out of IOI and escape. And she's like, wait. You hacked Sorrento's rig? Yeah. What's his password? Boss Man 69, all right, Wade, you need to raise an army. And Wade's like, what you talking? She's like, we're going to take down that shield. Back in Sorrento's office, he looks at like a reflection on the chair in front of him, and he can see H in the next room. So he figures out that he's actually still in the Oasis. Mm-hmm. So then he like reaches his hands onto his face, and he feels the visor there that we cannot see. And then he pulls it off, and he is in the real world, and he's in his office alone.
Oh.
So he gets out, and he immediately goes looking for Samantha in the loyalty farm and finds her cell empty. She is sneaking around past all the Sixers that are in there, like trying the Atari games and everything. Then she goes to his office and gets into his rig. So the rest of the high five. They were in the Oasis hacking Sorrento's rig. So where are they in the real world? They're in the back of Helen's truck. Just like plugged into visors and stuff, like playing Super Nintendo in your van, you know? Mm-hmm. So Samantha's looking through Sorrento's programs on his rig, and she's like, all the Nancy Drew novels, special Kegel exercises. Oh, okay, the instructions to the magic orb with the shield. And it gives the spell for deactivating it. So she gets that. Next, they record a message from Parzival to be broadcast throughout the entire world of Oasis. And he's like, everybody, people of Oasis, IOI is taking over and they're just gonna fuck everything up. And I used to be like you. I was just, a loser. But I found something. I found friends. And I know it's mushy, but I found love.
Jeez.
Sorrento, he can see the video and he's like, these stupid fucking kids, man. Jeez. And his buddy is like, hey, this is live to the entire world. And he's like, really? Shit. He goes into his office. Samantha has to hide and escape. Wade continues with his speech, but H turns to the side and says into a little radio comlink, she says, activate the Iron Giant.
Woohoo!
And we see in her workshop, the Iron Giant is waking up. But it's like a pair of legs on one side of the room and the rest of the body on the other side, so it has to put itself together. It's pretty fun, Mm-hmm. He's getting up, baby. Wade's still giving his speech, and he's like, I need you to ask yourselves, are you willing to let IOI take over? And I say to you, in the name of James Halliday himself...
See, there's three kinds of people. Dicks, pussies, and assholes.
Which one are you? I say join us on Planet Doom and help us save Oasis. It shows all these people in the real world watching this message. So they have the option of just traveling to Planet Doom instantaneously. Parzival and his buddies they turn around and no one is showing up.
Oh no.
I didn't make enough flyers? The revolution? And Sorrento, who is now in the Oasis in Castle Anorak, he's looking down and he's like, ha 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 ha. Stupid kid, man. Nobody came. And then this giant rumble. And now over the mountains there is just a sea of creatures and characters from video games just coming running.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Led, of course, by the Battletoads. Just this huge crowd of avatars. Now, Samantha, she is still a Sixer, and she's using the Sixer rigs. She's hiding in between all the Sixers that are just working the Atari challenge. So she's wearing that white jumpsuit, and she's just in their rigs. In Oasis, she's still wearing her work jumpsuit, and she sneaks into the castle and finds where the orb is. She looks around the corner and she's watching the Atari challenge. She sees that one of the guys is not dying. He's not falling through the ice. He's playing the Atari game Adventure, back when a game could just be called that. All of the IOI people, they're like, hey, this guy's not dying. This is probably the right game. All right, come on, do good, beat the game. And he's like, yes, sir, yes, sir. She's like, Adventure. That's the game that had the first Easter egg ever.
Oh, no.
And it was put there by the game's creator, and all it was his name.
Damn.
So then she sneaks around. She goes back to the orb, and she uses this little drone that has a speaker on it. She flies the drone over to the orb and then starts saying the deactivation spell into it. Sorrento's down in front of the castle with IROC, and he's like, hey, IROC, so how long is this shield, like, supposed to last anyway? I don't know. I guess, like 10 million years. So, you're good. Don't even worry about it, man. And then the shield goes down. In the charge of all the avatars, we can see like Spawn is there and Chun-Li and all of these, soldiers from the Halo games.
Oh.
Yeah.
And they immediately go to war with all of the Sixers that are all the IOI soldiers. And then Wade, he's like standing above all of these avatars and he holds up a boombox and he's like, first to the key. And then he pushes play and it's like, we're not gonna take it. No, we ain't gonna take it. And they're all just fighting and killing. So it's the Gunters versus the Sixers. You remember those? Gunters? That's the thing?
Yeah.
So this huge battle's happening. The Iron Giant is walking through the middle of it. Artemis looks over. She's in an IOI soldier outfit now, and she looks out and sees the DeLorean driving around through the battle, and he's just driving around shooting people. So she jumps into it, and at first he thinks she's a bad guy, so he shoots at her, and she's like, no, it's me. She takes off her helmet, and he sees that it's her. He's like, oh, man, it's you. She's like, hey, they're playing all these Atari games, and they found one that people are not dying in, and it's Adventure. And then Parzival is like, oh yeah, well that's the game with the very first Easter egg. Of course it is. In the real world, we see Finale tracking H's truck. H is not in the battle because she's driving the truck. But in the back of it is Wade, Daito, and Sho. Mm-hmm. Only Wade and Daito are in the fight. Sho is just sitting on the floor of the van. And he's like ready to enter Oasis, but he's not doing it yet. And they keep yelling at him like, Sho, are you going to get in this fight or not? And he like doesn't answer. He's a little zen 11-year-old boy.
What are they fighting with? Like swords?
If they have a sword, if they have a gun, they're using that.
Oh,
Most of them are using guns.
Oh.
They're actually saying the names of these guns. If I was a gamer, I'd probably recognize where they're from, but it's like anti-personnel cannon. I don't know, blah, blah, blah. So they're driving around. They got the doors of the DeLorean up, and they're just leaning out shooting at IOI guys. They will use these guns until they're out of ammo, and they'll throw them away. And then the other avatars around them are like throwing weapons to them.
Oh.
Like, I'm empty. Here you go. And it's like, Sagat. Throwing him a machine gun. And then at one point, Helen has stopped the van and she's gotten into the Oasis and she just yells down. She's like, yo, Parzival, try this little guy. And she throws him this weapon. He catches it and he's like, oh man. And then he just turns and throws it at an enemy and it is Chucky. And he is just a psychotic little knife-wielding doll, but he's a weapon.
Oh my God.
So he just starts like just slicing people up, and it is pretty awesome. There's people in their rigs in IOI, and they're like, holy shit, it's fucking Chucky! Finale is driving down the street in the real world and just sees everybody on the sidewalks jacked in, and they're all like shadow boxing and fight because they're fighting. They're in the middle of the battle. Now Sorrento is like, okay, it's time for Daddy to come home. And he pulls a vehicle out of his pocket. And he activates it. And it's like, and it's building itself and it gets really super tall. Artemis looks over and she's like, oh no. Mecha Godzilla.
Oh.
And yep, it's Mecha Godzilla and it's pretty cool looking.
Damn.
He's up in the head of it and he's like piloting it. So Helen's like, all right, my turn. She's in Iron Giant and she goes to fight him. And it turns out the Iron Giant is nowhere near as big as Mecha Godzilla. Oh. So it is not at all a fair fight. She immediately gets owned by it. Knocked down and he sprays his laser breath on her back.
Damn.
So the Iron Giant is just like, oh. DeLorean comes driving up. Mechagodzilla just sweeps it with his tail and ends its existence.
Oh, no.
It just wrecks and Parzival has to climb out. So now the 11-year-old who's sitting in the back of the van, he's just like, Rrr. And he puts his visor on and he jacks into the Oasis. And we see that as he's entering the Oasis, he's putting on the special gauntlet that makes you turn into any giant robot for 2 minutes.
Wow.
And then the camera gets right up on his face and he goes, I come in the form of Gundam! And the whole theater goes wild, and I have no idea why. It turns out everybody loves Gundam. Like there was a reference to this in Pacific Rim, and so when I saw it, everybody in the theater goes nuts. But I, who just saw Pacific Rim, I was like, oh yeah, cool, great, another giant robot. Yeah. Yeah, real original, guys. Okay. Let's save the world. Okay. So he turns into a giant Gundam robot, and I just remember thinking, like, boy, I bet nerds love this, but it is dumb. Anyway, he starts fighting Mechagodzilla, and he has got this. He's taking care of things. Pulls out his laser sword. What? A robot with a laser sword?
Yeah.
1 week too late, Mr. Spielberg.
It's such a big moment, hinged upon whether you know or like Gundam.
Yes. Artemis runs out to try to help H out of the Iron Giant. And the Gundam is fighting Mechagodzilla. And we start to hear a dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. What's that? He's only got 30 seconds left as that Gundam.
Oh, no.
So he's got his laser sword. He's slashing this thing up and down. He's flying. Jumps up into the air. Comes flying down with the sword. Slashes it right into Mechagodzilla's body. Travels halfway down it. And then turns back into his ninja.
Oh.
Then Mechagodzilla, Sorrento, he grabs him. And he's got him in the hand of Mechagodzilla. And he just looks at him. And then Little Show just goes, first to the egg, and then flips him the bird. And then Mechagodzilla just crushes him into gold coins.
Oh.
And it's like, worth it. And then boom, the Iron Giant jumps onto Mechagodzilla's back and is like tearing him up and ripping his wires out and stuff like that. The Iron Giant holds up its hand, opens it up, and there's Artemis. And she looks right into the eye of Mechagodzilla and sees Sorrento. And he's like, oh shit, eye contact with one of the heroes. And then she picks something up and throws it into the cockpit. He looks down at the floor and it's a mad ball. You remember those?
Yeah.
They're little squishy balls that were like different monster grossy faces.
Yeah.
And it's going, and it explodes. And it blows up Mechagodzilla's head. So Sorrento gets zeroed out. He dies in Oasis and then wakes up in the real world. He goes out into the IOI offices where all the Sixers are, and he's like, that Samantha girl, she never escaped. She never left. She is here. She's in one of our rigs. She's in an IOI outfit, so she's here somewhere. So he starts running around to all the Sixers and like ripping their masks off to look for her.
Yeah.
So now they get to the castle, and there is a moat of lava around it. And that's all they got to do is cross that, and they can get in. The Iron Giant reaches over the lava and falls, and then boom, grabs the other side with her hands. And now she is the bridge for the avatars to storm the castle.
All right.
There's one last threat. One guy left guarding the castle, and it's IROC. And he's got his big super skull gun, and he's shooting them. He's taking people out, and then he looks down and targets the Iron Giant's hands. And he starts shooting her hands. And she's like, oh, trying to hold on. And then all of a sudden, out jumps Daito. And my absolute favorite thing happens in this movie. IROC is up there shooting at everybody, shooting at the Iron Giant's hands. He's got his big super gun. Daito pulls out the glaive from Krull and throws it at that guy. Cuts his arm off, and then IROC runs away. And I was like, yes! The glaive. It comes back, and he catches it.
Oh, that's so
Holy
awesome.
shit.
It was so cool.
I have a boner now.
Yes. And I was just like, ah. And then the Iron Giant with its sad Iron Giant face. You know how it always looks kind of sad?
Yeah.
Falls into the lava.
Oh.
And starts melting, and the very last thing to go into the lava is its hand, and it gives a thumbs up, and then sinks into the molten lava.
Oh my god.
It was great. Parzival and Artemis, they're in the battle, and they're kind of hiding together. Parzival just looks at Artemis, and he's like, I love you. And she's like, this is not the time for that. In the real world, they're looking for her in the factory. And now Parzival knows that. And he's like, listen, you need to get out of IOI. You need to escape. And she's like, what? And he goes, you will forgive me for this later. And then he just holds up his gun and shoots her in the head.
Oh, no.
So she zeroes out and then wakes up in the real world. So then she escapes the building. Back in the battle, Parzival, he's getting surrounded by a bunch of bad guys, and then he pulls out the holy hand grenade. When he uses it, we just see a shot of the IOI floor with everybody in their rigs, and they just all turn red at once. He and Daito make it into the castle, and they find the Atari, and they see the one guy sitting there playing the adventure game. Daito's about to shoot him, and Parzival's like, wait. Look what he's doing. He's playing to win. He's trying to beat the game. That's not what he's supposed to be doing. And then we see the guy complete the game adventure, and then the ice opens up, and he falls in and dies.
Oh.
And then everybody in the offices, they're like, wait a minute, he beat it. He beat it and he still died. I guess adventure isn't the game. Now Parzival's like, it's not about winning. It's about playing. It's about finding the Easter egg, that first Easter egg ever. Warren Robinette, his name, the game's creator, he put it in there. That is the final challenge. All of a sudden behind them is Sorrento. He's like in another rig. He's like, wait, all right, check this out. If you just leave and you give me the key, I will transfer $50 million to your account right now. He's like, hell no. And then Sorrento holds up this other bomb. Now, I realize I did not mention this earlier, but it was briefly mentioned at the very beginning when they were like shopping for different upgrades and stuff. And there was this bomb called the Cataclysm. And Parzival has said, what is that? H was like, that's a bomb that will kill everybody on the planet.
Whoa.
Well, why would somebody want that? It'll kill everybody, like including the user. He's like, yeah. You know, I don't know. IOI, they make shit. Whatever. So now Sorrento is holding this thing and he like arms it. Behind him is IROC, whose arm is already growing back like a big snake. And IROC is just like, whoa, man. All right. That's not cool. Look, I got a lot of shit. All right. I have a lot of money. I have a lot of upgrades on me right now. Let me get out of this game before you set that bomb off. Sorrento's like, fuck that. And he's like, getting it ready to blow it up. When Parzival runs up and kicks it way up into the air. And then he starts fighting Sorrento. And he starts things off with a Ryu fireball from Street Fighter.
Woohoo.
And it's like, yeah, baby. And then he does one of those guile kicks where he spins around, but he kicks Sorrento right in the balls. Sorrento falls down, looks over, right next to him. There's the Cataclysm.
Damn.
Yep, he picks it up. Parzival's like, no! And then everybody on Planet Doom just dies. They all zero out. And they're all in the real world, like taking off their visor, like, oh man! So Sorrento, you know, he's died again too, so he gets out. But he's in one of those X1 suits, and his crotch is still glowing from getting kicked in the balls. He's like staggering out of his office, like, oh God. All right, get me out of this suit. And now we see back in Oasis, and it's just empty, okay? And there's the Atari, and coming walking out of the darkness is Parzival. Like, not dead for some reason. And he's looking at himself, he's looking up and down, he's looking around like, what the hell's going on? Hey, guys, in the van, they're all zeroed out and they're looking at Wade still in his gear. And they're like, wait, he's still in Oasis. How the hell is that happening? Parzival reaches into his pocket and he pulls out the quarter from the curator at the museum and he turns it over. And on one side of it, it says Extra Life.
Oh.
And he's like, oh man. Thanks, curator. So now he's by himself with the Atari, nothing to do but play the game. And he pops in Adventure, And all of a sudden, all over the real world, bloop, it is broadcast.
Oh.
Because a user with 2 of the keys, he's doing the 3rd challenge.
Yeah.
The high five, they find Samantha wandering down the streets, and they pick her up, get her in the van, and she looks at Wade, who's still playing. She's like, Wade, how the hell are you still playing right now? And in Oasis, he's just like playing Atari. He's trying to concentrate.
Yeah.
And so in the real world, he can hear her talking to him, and he's like, extra life, I'll explain later. Sorry, I shot you. Like a gamer talking to his girlfriend.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be bothered. So Helen's driving the van, and she has to escape this drone that has found it. Sorrento is talking to Finale, who is the one piloting the drone. He's like, hey, where the hell is he? Oh, he's in a van. We're driving through the streets. Don't worry, I'm going to take care of this. He's like, now give me the coordinates. I want the coordinates right now. She gives it to him, and then he's leaving. He gets in a IOI Jeep, and then he takes a gun. So everybody's watching Parzival play Adventure, and Parzival is talking. And he's like, you see, when Warren Robinette invented this game, he was proud of it. He was proud of his accomplishment. And he decided to put his name in it somewhere. And it wasn't, at the end, there weren't credits back then. So he hid it in the game. And the way to find it was not to beat it. It was by wandering around aimlessly in the game and finding an invisible dot. And once you find that invisible dot, you bring it back to the beginning of the level, and all of a sudden, it shows created by Warren Robinette. So you see, it's like finding an invisible key in a dark room in the middle of a labyrinth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So he gets the Easter egg in the game, and it says Warren Robinette, and then Anorak shows up. And he has got the crystal key, and he's holding his hand out to give it to Parzival, who is standing in the back of the van being driven by Helen, who's trying to evade the IOI Jeeps that are now on either side of her and ramming the van on the side.
Oh, God.
So Parzival in the game world is walking up to pick up the key, and then he just gets thrown to the side. So the whole world is watching this, and they're like, what the hell is your problem? Take the key! Because they just see Parzival like falling down on the ground for no reason. They don't know he's in the back of a van that's being attacked. And then Anorak just goes, do you want it or not? Parzival knows the van is being attacked, and he just turns and he says to the whole world, he's like, look, if any of you can hear me, my real name is Wade Watts. I am in the stacks right now, and I need your help. And then he's like, Helen, get us to the stacks now. She's like, I'm on it. Parzival finally gets the crystal key, and then this big door shows up that has 3 keyholes, and he has to put all the keys in, and it's really hard because the van's being knocked around, but finally he gets him in there, and the door opens up. He walks in, and he is in this giant gold room. In the middle of it, at the very top, is the biggest shining golden egg you've ever seen in your life. And it is being guarded by these 2 big gold dragon statues that are the Mortal Kombat dragon. From the logo.
Oh.
And you can see statues all around the room that are like Mortal Kombat characters. It's pretty cool. Standing below the egg, this big glowing egg, is Anorak. And he's like, he holds up a pen and a contract. He's like, all you need to do is sign your name here, and you will become the sole proprietor of the Oasis. That ain't so bad, is it? The van is now in the stacks, and the door opens up, and it's Finale, and she gets in there, and everybody's trying to get her out. They're fighting, and then Parzival looks at Anorak, and he's like, hang on 1 second. And then he just blinks out of the game because Wade pulls his visor off and then kicks the shit out of Finale for everybody. And then he puts his visor back on, and he's back in Oasis. And he looks at the contract on the table, and he's about to sign it, and he's like, no, this just feels wrong. He looks up at Anorak. It's like, this is the moment when James Halliday forced Morrow to sign over all of his shares in the company. This is James Halliday's biggest regret of his life. Oh. This is a test. He looks up at Anorak and he's like, I won't do it. I won't do what you did. And then Anorak just goes, oh, good. All right. I just wanted to be sure. And then he morphs into the real James Halliday.
Oh.
Mark Rylance. And he's like, old man with gray hair. And he opens up a door. He's like, come on in. Come on over here. He walks in, and he is in James Halliday's childhood bedroom. And there is a little kid, James Halliday, sitting over there playing Atari. And Halliday looks at Parzival, and he's like, yeah, okay, this is it. You know, I like to hang around in here sometimes. That's me as a kid. I like to keep him around, remind me of simpler times. And this over here, this giant red button on the wall, this is the button that will completely erase Oasis if you want to. Okay?
Wow.
And Parzival's like, oh, wow. He's standing right in front of this big red button. I think some of the IOI people were trying to get in the van again, so it kind of like jostles around. And in the game world, Parzival almost falls into the red button.
Oh.
And Halliday is like, yeah, don't try not to accidentally erase the whole world, on your first day, okay? Sorrento shows up in the stacks. He sees the van over there, and he starts walking up to it. He gets stopped by Mrs. Gilbert, who I forgot to say was the very first person in the movie to actually speak. She said something to Wade as he was climbing down the stacks in the beginning. Yeah. But this is Julia from Hellraiser.
No.
And she's like, we know what you did here. You are not welcome. And then the whole crowd in the stacks, they come and gather around him to gang up on him and take him out. And then he just holds up his gun and they all back away. It's like, what the hell, man? So he goes over towards the van. In Halliday's room, he's talking to Parzival and he's like, yeah, I really love this world, this Oasis, and I loved it when I created it. It's the love of my life. But I'll tell you what, reality, as painful as reality may be, it is still the only place where you can get a decent meal. Because reality is real. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And Parzival's like, yeah, I do. And then he takes the egg from Halliday, and he is now the owner of Oasis. In the real world, we just see Wade standing in the back of the van, holding his hands out, and his hands themselves are glowing gold. Mm. Like they're holding the golden egg, and everybody's like, he did it! He did it! Sorrento points his gun at Wade, and he has got him dead to rights. Wade doesn't even know he's standing there. He can shoot him in the head. The rest of his pals, the high five, they're just like, no, please! And based on that only, Sorrento lowers the gun.
What?
We can see tears streaming down Wade's face coming out of his visor. And now, in the real world, police show up and they arrest this gun-wielding asshole in the stacks. And he gets put in the back of a cop car. In the bedroom, the little kid finishes the game. And Mr. Halliday is like, all right, have fun, man. And he opens up the closet door. He's about to walk inside with the little boy. And Parzival says, hey, Mr. Halliday, you're not an avatar, are you? No, I'm not. Are you dead? Are you really dead then? And then Halliday just looks at him and says, goodbye, and just walks out the door. Thanks for playing my game, though. And he's gone. Wade pulls the visor off of his head, and he is crying like a baby. He's also got a huge boner for some reason. It's like glowing red. They didn't show how that happened. The doors open up, and it's old Simon Pegg. And he's there. It's Mr. Morrow. And they're like, hey, whoa, Mr. Morrow. And he's like, yeah, hey, I hear you just got the golden egg. Okay. And then Wade says, hang on one second. There's something I have to do. And he closes the truck doors. And then he turns to Samantha. And he grabs her and pulls her to him. I'm not like Halliday. I'm taking the leap. And then he kisses her.
Woo.
All right.
The cops open up the door. They see that shit. They're like, oh, Jesus Christ. They shut it. Door opens up again. It's Mr. Morrow. And he's got a whole bunch of people in suits behind him. And they're like, well, Mr. Morrow, who are they? And he's like, they are the people that you need right now. They are lawyers. And they're from my game company, my old game company that invented the Oasis. And they want your signature right here. And he holds up a contract. And then Wade just looks at the rest of the high five and he goes, I'm splitting it with my clan. We're going to control things together. And then Morrow, he gets a tear in his eye and he's like, that's a good choice, man.
Aww.
So they're walking away and Wade's like, Mr. Morrow, how did you get here so fast? Well, I've been watching the feeds. I knew this was probably going to happen. Everybody's been watching you, man. And then he reaches into his pocket and he pulls something out and flips a quarter to Wade. And Wade picks up the quarter and he's like, Curator?
Oh.
Morrow's like, yep. James used to say Oasis is not a one-player game and never should be. And I never knew the actual final Easter egg, so I was still allowed to watch from the museum, That was my little front row seat. And we did 3 things, all right? First of all, we signed Mr. Morrow on as a private consultant, and his fee was 25 cents. The next thing we did was we banned all loyalty farms from accessing the Oasis. So IOI and anybody else who had interests in that had no choice but to disband that shit.
All right.
And the third thing we did was something that not everybody liked. We closed the Oasis down on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Because people need to spend more time in the real world.
Oh.
And then it shows Wade and Samantha in their new apartment. And they're both sitting on a chair together. She's in his lap, and they just start kissing, baby. And Wade's like, yeah, reality. And the credits roll, baby.
All right.
Woo!
There you go. Ready Player One on Movies with Ron.
Wow, good job, Ron.
Thank you.
That movie was pretty epic.
It was. I loved it.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think all of the avatars, all the cameos and characters, it didn't need them.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I find it hard to believe that a guy with that much power could just get taken away by the cops. Like a guy who could take down a stack, organize that with that much clout.
Yeah, for real.
He could own the police, couldn't he?
Yeah.
Now I forgot to tell you, there was a final scene with him in the back of the cop car. He gets into the car, and there's Finale, who has also been taken into custody, and he just starts yelling at her and telling her what he needs her to do now, and she just turns and punches him in the face. But yeah, he was obviously the CEO of OCP Rent-A-Cops,
Yeah.
So what generation is this movie for?
Ours.
Is the generation that knows who Ferris Bueller is the same generation that plays Mortal Kombat? You know what I mean? It's such a strange mix.
Yeah.
Something for everyone.
Yeah.
I think it's all the shit Ernest Cline loved, personally. If it was in the book, I don't know how much
I've heard
changed.
the movie is way different than the book.
Yeah.
But, so was Jurassic Park. Essentially the same, but a lot of key stuff was changed.
You know what I think of the High Five as?
What?
These guys? The Burger King Kids Club. And here's Wade. Kid Vid. That is Wade.
Yep, there you go. Wow.
Anyways, if you're using iTunes or Apple Podcasts, we'd love it if you'd leave us a rating and review. Follow us on Twitter @MoviesWithRon. We got a Facebook page. We're on movieswithron.com and all your other favorite podcast apps. It's been fun.
Yep, we love you.
Good night, guys.
Adios, turd nuggets.
Movies with Ron.
You know what I'm going to do? Gaming with Ron. I'm going to do it with an iPhone. Is this how you do this? What the fuck? My greatest triumph ever is the tank from the beginning of Metal Gear Solid 1. I don't know. I can't beat it. Great game. Gyrate your body.